So 2 weeks ago I planted out my dahlias that had been brought on in pots, dahlia tubers which had been brought on to this stage of maturity, and I planted them out just over 2 weeks ago. And as I did so, I pinched them out, and I did a video in which I proposed 3 simple rules for pinching out dahlias. And not that they should apply to everything and everybody, and it's a sort of simplified scheme really of how to one way to deal with pinching out, and a nice simple way so that it's easy to follow. And this is a follow-up video 2 weeks later, just over 2 weeks later, showing the results of that pinching out process. And what I proposed was to 3 simple rules, I called it. So if the plant was at least 3 inches high, then you can apply 2 rules, both of which have got 3 in the title. The first one is to pinch out any stem that has 3 sets of true leaves. And I've done that on all of these plants now, which I'll show you, and I'll show you the results of doing that. And the other rule was to allow only 3 shoots. If there are more shoots emerging from the plant, then to remove all shoots except for the last 3. If there are less than 3, then you simply leave it alone and do the other rule, which is to pinch out at 3 true leaves. So we'll have a look at each of these. These particular variety are cafe au lait dahlias, and let's look at this one here first of all. And this is an example of where there were, I don't know how many shoots there were, but I removed the rest of them and left just 3 shoots. So if you can see in there are 3 shoots left. 1, 2, 3. This little brown leaf there. Little brown dead leaf. So there are 3 shoots emerging, and as you can see, they're all doing quite nicely. I've chosen not to pinch those out again. I could pinch them out again at 3 leaves. And then I get a bushier plant, but I'm choosing to allow these 3 stems to give me a flower before I do any more pinching out, or in fact to remove the flower and harvest the flower would be the same thing as pinching out, because I'm cutting the stem lower down. So there is my first bud in there, my first cafe au lait bud. Cafe au laits grow quite rapidly. So that's an example of a plant where I allowed 3 stems to develop and cut away any more stems. Let's have a look at another one now. Now this guy here, again it's a cafe au lait, and if we look carefully we can see that in fact there's only 1 shoot. That leaf's going, so I'll pull it off. There's only 1 shoot emerging from this tuber. So I didn't have to remove any more to make 3. There was less than 3, so I simply allowed that 1 shoot to carry on. But I applied the second rule, which was to pinch out at 3 true leaves. And this one here is the first true leaf. The one in the, hopefully you can see in the middle of the screen now, is the second true leaf, and just above that is where the 3rd true leaf emerged, and you can see quite clearly the part of the main stem which I pinched out, so it's got some browning of it there, and that was pinched out just over 2 weeks ago. And you can see what's happened clearly is that the 2 stems below that pinching out, this stem here and this stem here, have both been stimulated into rapid growth because the pinching out was done. If I hadn't pinched out, then this central stem here would have been increasing in size to the detriment of the stems below it, because that would then be what we call apical dominance. The uppermost growing part of the plant would send down auxins, which are chemical messengers, to the rest of the plant below, saying don't grow because I'm growing. So the pinching out process has allowed, in this case, 2 very good stems, each of which will give me a cafe au lait bloom fairly soon. And also, as often happens, the stems below it have also been stimulated into growth. So those stems above there, the first ones after the pinching out, have grown, and the ones below it, we can just see there now in the middle of the camera, in the middle of the picture. Down there is the second stem below, and a little way round here, if we can see it, a little way round here we can see that there's, I can just get the camera right, you can see here is the second stem growing from that position 2 leaves below where I made the cut. So we've got 4 really good strong stems growing from a plant which would have had simply 1 stem if I hadn't done the pinching out. So hopefully you can get that picture. We had a single stem which I pinched out at 3 leaves, and that gave us 2 areas, each of which produced 2 stems, the top ones and the ones below it. Let's have a look at the next one. Okay, so this is a plant which, again, I applied the rule of 3s to, but in this case there were only 2 shoots, so I didn't have to remove any extra shoots because there were only 2. And at the same time I applied the third rule of 3, which is to pinch out above the 3rd set of true leaves. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. Difficult to see, I'm afraid, because there's been some growth after I made the pinching out, but the pinching out is right in the middle of the camera now. You can just see that little shoot there which is going brown because I've pinched it out, and you can see quite clearly that that has stimulated the side shoots each side of that pinching out. The side shoots have been stimulated, so this is the top side shoot that's been stimulated, this is the next side shoot which has been stimulated, and then below that the shoot now, this one here is the pair of shoots below it, and at the back there, if you can see where my fingers pointing, here is the second of the 2 shoots below the primary 2 shoots. So again, we've made a pinching out, and our plant is now doing really well with 4 nice shoots emerging, each of which has a bud. And we've also got an accessory shoot here, which again I chose not to pinch out, and that's going to give us another bloom there. So that's cafe au laits. Let's have a look at another variety now. So these ones here. Let's have a look at this guy. This is Preference, and as you can see we've got some buds forming already. Rather more advanced ones on the plant next along there. So we're going to get a flower there hopefully within the next week. Let's have a look at this guy here. The bottom leaves often go like this, so they are dying away, and you can choose to remove those or leave them and let the plant reabsorb some of the nutrients from that dying leaf. And let's have a look at this one. So in there we can see that we've got, this is the main shoot, this is the next larger shoot, and then there's a shoot at the back. So I allowed 3 shoots to emerge from this this tuber. I don't know if there are any more, but if there were, then I would have removed them. And once again on the main shoot here, down inside there, you can see that is the area where I've pinched out. You can see the hollow stem, and where the stem has been pinched. And once again, just above the pinching, we've got 2 really healthy shoots. And there's also some shoots from the next leaf nodes down. So this process, where I've removed a lot of plant material, has in fact given us a better shaped plant, because we've got now more stems having pinched out the main stem, and that's the whole purpose of pinching out. It's so that we can end up with a plant which is in a much better condition than the original one. And we've done the same thing to all the others here, and they're all doing pretty well. They're 2 weeks after planting, and they've all had the three rule treatment: 3 stems, and we've pinched out at 3 true leaves, and we've left some to develop on, but the main stem in each of these was pinched out at 3 leaves to form a bushier plant. So you may have noticed there's some weeds growing here, and we're actually in the large polytunnel, so I haven't yet mulched this area, but I'm just about to mulch now, and we'll do that with grass clippings, and mulch will suppress the weeds and will seal in the moisture. So I'll make sure that this bed is nice and wet before I put the mulch on. And part of the process of doing that, I'll remove these lower leaves that are in the process of dying anyway. I'll remove those so that the mulch isn't touching any of the plant. We can hold the mulch away from the stem of the plant. And here are the plants outside in the ordinary beds. I'm very pleased to say that it's actually started raining. This is the first rain we've had here now for 5 weeks. We haven't had a drop of rain for 5 weeks. I'm pleased to say that it's actually at this very moment it's raining. We've got a small flower forming there on one of our small dahlias. We'll remove those because that's not going to serve much purpose. But here, after only just over 2 weeks, we've got a nice bud forming there, a nice flower bud forming there, so we'll probably get an actual flower from that. We've got some aphids as well, which every time I see them I'll squish them. That's the way we deal with them rather than using chemicals. Once you get them aphids like this on one of the stems, and they multiply, within half an hour, within a day they multiply tremendously, so you've got an infestation straight away. And you just got to keep an eye on everything if you're going to do it by squishing rather than by spraying, which we just don't do here, and we get round it other ways. So these are all my plants, all of which had the rule of 3s treatment. I allowed 3 stems and no more. Each and every one of these plants has had that treatment, and as you can see, they're not doing badly. Still very early, and in another couple of weeks these will have padded out nicely and will be well into production of dahlias for cut flowers. So there we are. I hope you found that useful. Follow up on my simple rules of 3. And I hope to see you for the next video, which will be, I hope, in a week's time. So thanks very much for listening. I hope you found that useful, and I do hope to see you again. Okay, bye for now.